Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito show on Damon Looks. Well, I have a really interesting, cool show for you guys today, okay? I have a special co-host guest. His name is Justin Drummond, who actually gave me this connection with LEIGH RAMSDELL, okay? So I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then we'll start the interview. Say hi, guys.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Hey, how's everybody doing? This is Lee.
So this is cool, guys. All right. So, Lee,
Yes.
I'm going to have Justin ask you some questions, but I want to say something first.
Sure.
This is all new to me. Okay. I'm a little bit older. I'm not sure your age, but this is all new to me and it's so cool. And your photos are really cool. But I'm going to tell you what I loved when I checked out your Facebook stuff.
Okay.
You said quotes are for lazy people that can't come up with anything on their own. And then you said you can quote me on that.
Well, I want to make it easy.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I thought that was hysterical. I'm like, this guy has a great sense of humor, and I just thought it was awesome.
Well, that's one thing I like to do. I like to try to make people laugh.
Yes. So, Justin, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how we connected.
Okay, so I was previously working for several radio stations, and I happened to come across you. And normally, I just would do singers and everything, but lately I've been starting to grow up for a lot of people because there's a whole lot more than just singing. There's dancers, there's actors, comedians, and I can't believe we have someone from the BMX world.
This is so cool, right?
Yeah.
So, Lee, tell everyone a little bit about you.
Well, I am been riding my bikes all my life. I actually turned 50 this year.
Woo!
So I've been just got my first bike when I was really young, and got my first freestyle bike probably when I was 14. I just started messing around doing tricks, and it's just something that just stuck with me, something I knew I loved and wanted to stick with, and just been doing it all my life. And then through just riding and having positive attitude and everything, I finally got a sponsor, and it just blossomed, luckily blossomed into a career. Then once my career started winding down as a pro BMXer, I was able to keep working in the industry. And now I'm currently working for Mongoose Bikes, and I'm the team manager. So I manage their BMX athletes. So it's kind of cool being able to pass along what I've learned through all my years to those guys too,
So before I pass you off to Justin, I just want to comment. So I'm holding up the photo page I made, and there you are, with this crazy jump. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. So you're still able to do this kind of stuff at 50?
Not as much as I used to. That was actually my backyard.
Okay.
And that was probably, I was early 40s on that. I actually had both my knees replaced.
Oh, so, okay.
And the doctor said I'm not allowed to do anything hard, high impact. So I still do ride my BMX bike, but I don't do any of the crazy flips and stuff like that. But I will still go out to the parks and ride my bike. So I keep it real mellow and casual, but it's still something I love to do, and it was good to find that transition of being able to do it.
So cool.
Yeah, so it's something I've been lucky enough to do most of my life.
So Justin, take it away, kiddo. I know you have a lot of questions. You were so excited about this interview.
I really am. I grew up actually playing him on one of my favorite video games as a kid. Dave Mira, freestyle.
Yeah, that was definitely a crazy thing I got to be involved with, for sure.
Yeah. So normally I usually like to start from the beginning with our guests. And one thing I really found interesting is that you actually were born in Hawaii.
I was.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you had like an amazing childhood, like right there.
Well, I was born in Hawaii. My dad was a military man, and my mom and dad are both from Maine. The exact, the opposite of Hawaii, and he was stationed there. So I was born in Hawaii.
Okay.
I believe I was only there for 6 months. And then we went straight from Paradise back to Maine.
Okay.
And then eventually my dad got stationed in North Carolina, and that's where I pretty much grew up most of my life, in a small town in North Carolina.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I like had a really bad, really like I was only assuming that you like grew up, but I mean it's amazing. Like,
I wish I did grow up in Hawaii. I've been back a few times, and I actually passed the hospital I was born in. It's just this big pink hospital on a hill.
Oh, beautiful! I love pink.
Yeah, but it's I've been back a few times, and I love it there. But it's North Carolina is definitely not Hawaii, but it wasn't bad either. Well, you guys know you're on the East Coast. You know the humidity we get here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I've been to Hawaii a few times. I loved it. Yeah. So when I heard you were born there, I was a little jealous. I was like, "That's too cool."
Yeah, I wish it was better, but it's going back is good enough for me.
So go ahead, Justin. Another question.
All right. So growing up, I just really kind of wanted to know, and I'm pretty sure Jerry wants to know this as well. Tell us a little bit about the time that you actually first got into BMX.
Yes.
But it was, I remember I was just, had a little BMX, or just a BMX bike, just something you got from the department store, riding around. And I think when I was between the ages of like 10 and 14, I really wanted to be a stuntman. I would just crash my bike on purpose.
No.
Just like flip in the bushes and just fall off the hills and stuff. So, but then one of my friends, he goes, "Oh, this guy Greg, he jumps this ramp," and I went and looked at it, and it was like a 7 foot tall ramp that you go straight up. It didn't make sense to me because there was nobody jumping it at the time. And I came back the next day and saw this guy Greg riding the ramp, and it just like clicked. I was like, "Wow, I want to do this," and so I just did it every day, every moment that I was able to go out and ride my bike. I was able to do it, and this was in the 80s where you could just tell your mom and dad, "I'll be back for dinner," and then go ride,
But wait, I have a question because Justin's younger than us. I have a question about that. Yes.
Yeah.
My daughter was born in 1980, and even me, when I was young and lived in New York, and Mom, we're coming home for dinner, whatever. But I have a question. How old were you when you were like crashing on purpose?
Probably between the ages of 10 and 14.
I would have beat you as a child.
I mean, it was just like, it wasn't big crashes. I'd see a bush and
okay.
throw myself off. I wasn't trying to like jump off of a roof or anything.
Okay. Wow.
And then, so I just, once you see one guy riding, and you just find somebody that's passionate about the same thing you are, you just connect. And like, I'm still friends with this guy, Greg, that, I met way back in 1984. And then a group of friends just kept riding, and it just kept progressing.
Well, I have to piggyback off of this question, Justin. What, did you see other people doing this that made you intrigued with it? How did it first get inside of you to want to do it though? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I've always liked being on a bicycle. And then when I saw how you could take a bicycle and go in the air and come back down, it just, that's what kind of clicked. And it was when I first saw that my friend Greg ride that ramp. Okay. That's when it just all of a sudden, I was 14, and it was just this thing that once I did it one time, I was just like, wow, this is really cool. Like, you controlled it yourself. You could ride your bike. You could, I was never really into team sports too much. I think I like the aspect of being able to do this when I wanted to, but you could still do it with your friends like a team, but you did it in your own certain way. And
you had no fear.
When you're young, fear is just one of those things.
Right. You're right. I remember. All right, Justin, anything?
Yeah. Okay. So you're doing like BMX, and at first you were kind of doing it for fun. Tell us a little bit about the time that you actually turned pro.
I remember, when I started getting, I started getting better and better on my bike, and you'd see the pros. You're like, man, this would be cool to do. Just something. I was okay in school. I wasn't great. I didn't have it. I couldn't see any academic passions I really was into. And it's like, man, if I could make this work, this would be really good. And it took a while. Like, I graduated high school. I was a plumber for a little bit. But at the same time, I was still going to contests and riding in amateur classes and just going to more and more events. And, and at the same time, you also try to make sure you're nice to people. You're just, I was just trying to be around people and be as friendly as possible. And then I met with some other friends. That one of my friends had a clothing company he started, and that he was actually my very first sponsor. It was called 2B Clothing, and he was in Williamsburg, Virginia. And and when I mean sponsorship, it's just they gave you some T-shirts.
Okay.
And I mean, but that was cool. Hey, I got 3 free T-shirts. I was on top of the world, and I was still working my plumbing job and part-time doing that. And then eventually he wanted somebody to help him with the company. And I went from making my plumber salary to making probably $5 an hour just because it was within the BMX world. It was worth it to be able to do that. And then I got this company, Wilkerson Airline. There was this old pro named Ron Wilkerson. He started his own bike company, and he noticed me at some events. And I remember he called me, and I thought it was my friend messing with me, just because I was like, this pro Ron Wilkerson is calling me to ride for his company. And I remember I kept going like, all right, Craig, stop messing with me. He goes, I don't know who Craig is. This is Ron. And then finally I was like, oh, wow, this really is Ron Wilkerson. And then I started riding for him. I think that was in like 1994. I started, and that's kind of like when I turned pro at the same time.
Okay. So
it was 1993.
How old were you in 93?
I was 23.
That's cool. Do you have any children?
I do. I have a daughter right now. She's turning 9 soon.
Okay. Does she have that desire for the bike?
No, she's a little more scared than I was.
Okay.
But she's really funny, and I can see, like her passions. Like she likes making people laugh, and she's very artistic. So
cool.
I try not to push it. If she wants to ride, for sure I would ride alongside her. We do ride bikes on like bike paths, but she's not really into getting hurt like I was.
Wow.
Yeah, and that actually leads into my next question. I know that some people are really scared to do something really big as like BMX, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot of anxiety that something is going to happen. What makes you keep going and actually doing BMX?
Good question.
It's one of those things where I think the first time I kind of got a little bit hurt, it's the feeling I got from when I was doing all my tricks and being on my bike outweighed anything of me getting hurt. Like if I would sprain an ankle, it would just be motivation to sort of get back, get healthy so I could get back on my bike. And it was, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. The same thing is I remember we put my daughter on a Strider bike way too early. She could barely touch the pedals, and she fell down.
Oh. And
she didn't really get hurt, but it scared her, and I think that kind of made her scarred a little bit about trying things that could hurt her. But I think I got kind of lucky where I didn't get hurt when I first started riding. And I think part of when I wanted to be a stuntman and I was already crashing on purpose had something to do with me not being scared of getting hurt. So it is tricky sometimes, because you can be sitting knowing you're going to try this trick for the first time, and you can very well get hurt, but you kind of got to push your mental boundaries past that and be like, well, what if I do pull it? No, wait, I will pull this, and then something about that just clicks and makes it work, so that you can at least try it. And most of the time, you'll try a trick and you'll crash, and it's sort of just sliding out, and you don't really get that hurt. So that sort of, you're like, all right, I overcame that boundary. Let's try the next one so I can actually pull this.
Right.
And you learn from it. You learn from every crash, most of the time.
Wow. How old were you when you had your knee replacement done?
I was 40. I was in my 44.
Okay. Did that set you back mentally at all?
A little bit, just because. But before that, my knees were really, really bad. I was getting. I was already a little bit bow-legged, and then I had no cartilage left in my knees, and it was getting really bad, where it was super painful to walk.
Oh.
So it was already kind of throwing me back a little bit, because I know I couldn't ride my bike like I used to, and I knew I was getting older, and so I decided, let's get the surgery so I'm at least not in pain, just walking around. So, and now it has set me back, like trying to learn new tricks, but it hasn't set me back in the feeling I get on my bike, because now my goal is just to try to be smooth on my bicycle, which before I didn't care too much. I would just try hard tricks and land hard.
Okay, now you're smooth.
but not doing hard tricks. I'm just doing simple tricks like a tabletop or something.
Oh my gosh.
Just being on the bike is good. And I ride a lot of mountain bikes now too, because of the shocks, and that actually helps with my knees. But I mean, it was a little setback, and it's hard being like, okay, I can never do this again type. Well, even though I was getting to the age where I shouldn't be doing that again. So, well,
what's funny is what you said, that you were doing simple tricks like a tabletop. To me or others, that would be a huge trick. Okay.
Boy. It's just one of those ones, like a simple one I've been doing most of my life, but it hasn't set me back too much. If I would have had to have that replacement done in my late 20s or early 30s, that would have been a different story. Okay. You know?
I do have a question for you, and then Justin can ask you one soon after this one. What was one of your most incredible encounters through this career of yours? Meeting someone or being on a certain show, or what was one of your most incredible moments?
I would say one of my favorites, because we get to go on tours through our bike companies and stuff, but one of the favorite ones with me was in 2000. I got to go on the Vans Warped Tour.
Okay.
Where it's a big music festival with a bunch of like punk bands that travels the US and Canada. But then they have a big half pipe in the middle of the whole venue, and we'd go out there for an hour in the day and just ride with a bunch of skaters and BMXers. And I got to meet like a lot of bands I looked up to, and a lot of skaters and BMXers I looked up to. And that whole summer, it was just like, it was really cool to be able to ride to music live, to then become friends who I still talk to some of these days at some of the bands, and just it was just a really cool experience overall.
That's great. Justin?
All right. So let's talk about the X Games.
Here we go.
You have been to every single summer X Games, and I really got to know, how did that feel like when you actually got to the X Games for the very first time? Explain that.
It was pretty surreal, because at the time the contests were there was some pretty good contests going on that Matt Hoffman was putting on, and then all of a sudden ESPN became involved and wanted to do the X Games. The very first one, they called it the Extreme Games, which they changed it right after that. And that was in '95 in Providence, Rhode Island. And I was riding for that Wilkerson Airlines at the time, and I drove my truck up there. And I remember just going up, getting your photo taken, getting a credential. It just seemed so. I was like, wow, this is the biggest thing that's happened to BMX at the time. And it was. I just remember my mind being blown and going in, and it was inside this I can't remember. It was like an old fort in Providence, Rhode Island. but it was just the biggest setup I've seen at the time. It felt like I was in the Olympics, which way
Wow.
smaller. But that's, when I'm 25, sitting there and looking up and going, wow, this is just crazy. And it was a good event. And I went from 95 to 2000. I rode competitively in the X Games, and then I was transitioning out of like riding competitively, and the people at ESPN saw me do some little bit of small TV work, so then they had me do like sideline reporting afterwards, where like a guy would get done at his run, and then I'd interview him, and that was a real fun gig, and that was like 4 or 5 years for that too. Then after that, I transitioned into judging, so I was judging the events, which was the most stressful job out of all of those, where you have to sit there, critique everybody, and just make sure you get it right. Then I got my job with Mongoose, and as a team manager, you're not allowed to judge anymore, just because you potentially could be judging riders from your same team.
Oh.
That would look a little biased,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but how did it actually feel to like judge like people, like just to know that like 1 minute you're doing doing the event, and then the next moment you're judging? Yeah. I mean, like, how did that feel to go from that transition?
It was where my career was winding down as a professional rider, so it was good just to still be involved. And I also like the fact that I've been in these events, so you would know, because you were judged before, you kind of would know how you would want to judge people, and you want to make sure you do it right. So even when I get to the contest, I try to ride all the ramps just to know how everything feels, so I can judge it properly. But it was it wasn't a strange transition or anything going from a rider to a judge. But I think being a rider in the contest helped my judging, because I've been in that situation that they were, so I knew that.
I have a question about that. So you said it was a little stressful. Was it stressful because you didn't want to do something wrong where it would hurt one of the contestants?
Yeah, you don't ever want to judge anybody wrong, because it's still subjective.
Right.
There's 5 judges sitting there, and everybody could judge a little bit different, where they think one person is, and what one person does versus the other. But you basically just have to judge those competitors that day against the competitors that are there. But it's just stressful, because you got to watch, you have them, because it's a lot of it was live TV, so you only have seconds to put your score in.
Oh wow, okay.
So you watch the run, you take notes, and then you got to compare it to the other people that just rode. Almost the hardest one is giving the first score, because you're like, all right, in the finals there'll be like 12 competitors, and you're like, all right, where's this guy gonna be compared to the other 11? So
okay,
I mean, being a competitor I wouldn't say it was stressful. It's more nerve-wracking. You just want to do the best you can do, and all you're worried about is yourself at that point. But when you're judging other people, you still want to do the best you can do, but you want to make sure you get it right for them.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. So I have one more question. Listening to you talk and all this, do you regret anything, or is there something you regret maybe not doing?
No, it's there are always like little things, I think, like, oh, I wish I would have tried that trick then, or I wish I wouldn't have tried that trick. And
okay,
but it's nothing major, just because I feel like I really like where I'm at right now. So if I would have changed any of that, would I be here? I try to look at it that way.
Yep, great.
But no like real big regrets or anything like that.
Justin?
Yeah, I mean, like that to me, like, is like very amazing, because it's just like you got to live with no regrets, because I mean, if you live in regret, then like you're gonna be like a really sad person. Yeah, you don't want to consistently be worried about what you could have done in the past. Just worry about what you can do now, type thing. Yeah. So I was reading your bio, and I actually found out that you're not just like a little bit of a BMX rider, but you actually had like a little bit of taste of fashion. You actually started your own clothing company. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was I was working with my friend Hal, who did his clothing company, and I was like, oh, I want to do a couple, funny T-shirts, but they didn't really fit with his line. So he's like, oh, why don't you just start your own? I mean, it's just, we were such good friends. He's like, he wasn't worried about competition. He's just like, oh yeah, you do your own. So I just did these shirts that were kind of funny and quirky, and I called it Useless because I remember somebody said, you're a BMX bike rider. What are you going to do with that? Useless or thing. So I was like,
oh my
God. Just some people get salty about things. So it's like, oh, Useless. Good name. So
I love it.
I just did it for fun.
Yes.
I just tried. And then I was able to actually help sponsor a few other riders where I could help them out a little bit and give them their clothes. Cause it was pretty simple. It was shirts. And then I did some like jeans and, just wasn't like an elaborate line or anything, but it was just a fun thing to do. And then when I started working for a bike company, it was just too much to juggle both. So I just sort of let it go.
I want to say something about that. Useless. I love it. I'm in the media, obviously. And so I have a lot of people that love me, and I'm sure I have a lot of people that don't. So when I hear negative things, I laugh and I use them to my advantage. And I say this to people all the time. I say, Mae West, I don't know if you remember who she was, but she was one of the greatest back then, and actress. And she said, it's better to be overlooked it's better to be looked over than overlooked. And I love that. And I love that. So for you to use the word useless and laugh about it just proves how awesome you are and how you take things with a grain of salt to empower you, because that's what we need to do, right?
Exactly.
If we went through life listening to all this negativity,
all I can really say is that just wow. I mean, sometimes the people who are so negative and so rude, they tend to be the ones that actually are can be used for a good idea. They can be very inspiring. So
Yep.
Good for you, man.
Yep, yeah, very cool.
That's just one of those things where you just gotta laugh it off, really.
Yeah,
you can't let that stuff get to you, or else you don't want it to consume you.
That's right. You're right. I wrote a book about addiction, right? And someone that's been in my life and still is, she bought my book. A family member was struggling, a young family member with addiction, and she said to me, "I love your book, and we're going to give it to my family member maybe in a year, because I don't think the family member can handle it right now, because I'm right there with it. You got to do this, don't do this. This is nonsense." That's my personality. Well, I took that and ran with it. And I had a film director do a film for me, and I put a poem in there, and the film came out incredible, and it's out on YouTube, and it's called My Book Ain't for Wimps. I took it and ran with it. So I get it.
Yeah. I actually just I saw that you did a book, and I pulled it up on Amazon to check out.
But yeah, and I just revised it, so that'll be done in a couple months. But that video is hysterical. It's good. It's not funny, but it was done with, okay, I'm going to use that negativity and do something with it, just like what you've done, and Justin as well. I'm sure, Justin, things in your life as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what else, Justin? What else can we talk about with LEIGH?
Okay, so it says right here on your bio that you actually co-hosted a really big movie premiere of Joe Kidd. I've actually never heard of Joe Kidd. What's that about?
It was Joe Kidd on a Stingray. It was sort of like the documentary of the start of BMX.
Okay.
And it was, what was it? Fuel. I think Fuel TV was doing the premiere out in Hollywood. It was me and this Tim Fuzzy Hall, BMX racer, dirt jumper pro. We just like co-hosted that, and the thing is, I don't know if the movie got any distribution for it. So I'm not sure even what made it to the theaters. And unfortunately, it was a really good book on. It followed the like it was sort of like, what was that, Dogtown and Z-Boy? Did you see that one?
Oh yeah, I've heard of the Z-Boys.
Yeah, so it was sort of like that sort of documentary. And who was it that did the narration? I think Jesse James.
Yeah.
So it was Jesse James was, like, he was the one that did the whole narration through it. It was a cool movie, but unfortunately, I don't think it got legs and made it past that.
Leigh, when did BMX start? Do you know, like, about when all that started happening?
In the early 70s.
Okay.
And it was early 70s. Like, kids wanted to put and ride motorcycles. They started racing bikes, and it sort of grew out of there. And then,
okay,
like, the BMX companies started around. Like, Mongoose started in 1974, and then GT Bikes, I believe, started in 72. So early 70s is when all that started, and then it started with BMX racing, and then it evolved to the BMX freestyle aspect, where it's kind of what side I'm on more of.
Wait, I have another question, Justin. Then you can talk. Are the bikes different? Are they made to be able to move crazy versus just a regular bike? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, the bikes are made to, it's like stronger metal, and then some bikes have these things called rotors on them where you can keep spinning the bars, the handlebars around to do tricks. And
that's cool.
Yeah, they're made even in the 70s when they started making them. They've just progressed so much more. Yeah, they're made to handle the abuse.
That's so cool, Justin.
Okay, so I really have to ask, because I mean, I'm absolutely dying to know the answer to the question. The greatest BMX rider I consider to be all time, Dave Mirra. I'm sorry, Lee, no offense.
No, I agree with you there. 100%.
Okay. Have you ever met Dave Mirra?
Yeah. We used to actually be next door neighbors.
What?
That's cool.
It was I moved to Greenville, North Carolina for a little bit, which was it was just like a mecca of BMX for a while. Dave lived there, Ryan Nyquist, a bunch of guys were moving there. And at the time when I moved there, Dave was like the next door neighbor. We lived in the same apartment building. And then 6 months later, he bought a house and put a big ramp there. But yeah, just living in Greenville, became friends with Dave. And that's sort of how I got into, he asked me if I wanted to be in his video game that he was doing. And I mean, I couldn't say yes quick enough.
Yeah, and I actually in my when I actually turned 18, I mean, I still used to play a GameCube. I know a GameCube's not really popular anymore, but I know that was a really cool game.
Yeah, it was like I said, one of those surreal moments. That was also when you asked what was one of that was one of the top moments for sure. Being, I mean, a character in a video game. That's something I can show my daughter, and it's just,
that's cool.
Wild.
Yes, that's cool. I have grandchildren, and my grandson's 19, but my granddaughter's 4, and just showing them things that I'm doing, that's incredible, right? That feeling, you can't beat that feeling, Lee.
No, not at all. It's except for half the media that I'm on, it doesn't exist anymore. Where she's like, "What's a VHS?"
Stop it.
So,
oh my goodness.
I gotta go buy all these relics so I can show them to her.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you're on a video game, right? And I see a bunch of these other riders that I actually don't even know. But I really want to know who did you really look up to? Who were some of your favorite BMX riders growing up?
Well, when I was growing up, the number one guy I looked up to was that Ron Wilkerson, who became one of my sponsors. So that's why it was so surreal when he called me to say, "Do you want to ride for the company?" Because I didn't really talk to him much then. But he was Matt Hoffman, who is he is just does some really, really gnarly stuff on the bike, and he progressed the vert riding and the contesting by doing his own events. And then, of course, Dave Mira. Dave is just one of those guys that's supernatural on and off his bike. Just a real good person to talk to. Good guy to give advice, and then just his riding style. And then looking up to people doesn't stop just because I'm getting older. Like there's this one kid, Kevin Peraza, who we sponsor for Mongoose. He's in his early 20s, but he's got such a positive mental attitude, and everything he does on his bike is just amazing. So, it just I keep looking up to people, even as I get older.
So wait, I have a question about that then. All right. So, how everything evolves, no matter what it is, right? Like you and I, not so much for Justin yet, but it will happen. But you and I, like, we look back 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and we're like, oh my gosh, we thought that was incredible. Look at what's happening now with that. When you watch these younger people doing things, do you have that feeling as well? Like, wow, we didn't do that. Are they doing things now?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy, because I remember when I first started watching Matt Hoffman do stuff, I was like, man, it cannot progress any further than this.
That's what I mean.
And then that was 20 years ago, and it's just, I just got back from Tallinn, Estonia. There was a big event going on there over the weekend, and I remember shaking my head so much, like, I can't believe I just saw that. Like, it's still crazy. I mean, I think it's endless, and it's not always just the hardest trick. It's also sometimes just somebody's style, the way they make it look on their bike, that's just so incredible to watch.
Wow, very cool. Justin?
Okay, so I really have to say, like looking at your story, I mean, like, you actually remind me of someone like a really good BMX rider. You ever heard of Mike Escamilla?
Oh yeah, Rooftop.
Rooftop. He is. I feel like it's kind of like a similar to you, because he actually started with BMX, and then he actually started a little bit of entrepreneuring, and I know that you done stuff with your clothing line. Mike Escamilla, one of my favorite characters, but one of the first BMX riders I actually ever got to experience. And I just feel don't you see the kind of connection right there?
Yeah, Mike is awesome. I just actually listened to he has a podcast he's doing now. That's really good. And I just listened to one of those the other day, and Mike's a good dude. And I always like seeing him whenever I get to hang out with him, because he's 100 miles an hour, and he loves what he does. I think with almost anybody that's still involved, like a little bit older people, I think they're still involved just because they love it so much.
Right.
So there's always that connection, Right.
Yeah, and I see that. I mean, 1 minute he's doing BMX, and then I actually see him on an episode of Shark Tank, and I see he's doing the entrepreneuring stuff, and I mean, you don't give up, man. You don't give up.
No, just keep going. If you get a chance, he has his podcast is called Keep Bleeding, and it's just he talks to a bunch of BMX guys, but then other people too, because he does stunt. He actually does stunt work too. So he's living my old 10-year-old childhood dream of being a stuntman.
That's so funny. I have a question for you. If your knees and legs were fine and good, and you never had any surgeries, whatever, would you still be doing crazy stunts on your bike?
Probably not competitively, but probably.
Okay.
Still, because I still I'll go by and I'll see something that something you could ride, and I just, in my head I see all the things I would do on that. So it's one of those things where you probably I mean, obviously, if I wasn't hurt or had no injuries, because I probably wouldn't know better, I would still want to try that stuff. But it's just, I know that my knees, I just cannot hurt them, so I don't do it now. But every once in a while, I'll push myself and give myself a little scare, but it doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, and I also kind of want to know too. I mean, like I'm pretty sure like with like getting injured. I mean, I'm pretty sure like that was hard, and I'm pretty sure that gave you a couple of setbacks as well. Yeah, like tell us a little bit about like as like how the injuries affected your life.
It's injuries slow you down a little bit. Just I feel it now more so. Just I'm just like, oh, I'll wake up a little achier. But
Yep.
Probably one of my worst injuries is I was out. There's different aspects of riding. There's the ramp stuff, and then there's what's called street riding, where you ride. You'll jump your bike on handrails and ledges. And I was out riding one time. I had a helmet on and everything, but I went to do this handrail and I missed it, and I landed on my knee. I had a knee pad on, but I didn't know it. But I cracked my kneecap in half, and I jumped back up because I think it was just. I was like, oh, I hit my knee. I think it's filling with fluid. Let's do this. So I do the rail like I'm supposed to. Then there's a ledge after that, and I crash on that and break my hip and knock myself out.
Oh no!
Yeah.
This was like about 4 or 5 months before my wedding, so it was just like
Oh no!
Before your wedding?
Oh no!
But it wasn't like I didn't break like the socket of my hip. I broke a little piece off.
Oh yeah, just a little piece.
Know my hip was broke. I thought I had just a really gnarly hipper or something. A week later, I finally go to the doctor, and she's like, "Yeah, you broke a little piece. We're going to have to do surgery on that." So, I got that all fixed, and I was able to dance at the wedding. So it was fine.
That's good.
But, and then, I've hit my head a few times, which is that's probably some stuff I can feel now where it's a little, just like head injuries aren't good, and there's all that CTE stuff they're talking about now. So all that stuff's always in the back of the mind.
I was a daredevil growing up, and I went to Australia and then New Zealand. I brought my daughter, who was 15 at the time, to jump off the same bridge AJ Hackett did his first bungee jump. And I had to throw her off the bridge. She was scared. I wasn't. I've jumped off of cliffs with kites attached to me, balloon rides, jumping out of planes, crazy stuff. But I had an injury a couple years ago, a freak accident with a 200-pound recliner chair that flipped over on top of me. So I had a knee brace on, and so I get it. But I'll be 59 in March, and now I have a little bit more sense. Listen, I think about these things and I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I did them when I was younger, because I wouldn't be doing them now, even if I didn't have an injury. So I give you props for that, baby.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I'm definitely a little more thoughtful on stupid stuff now.
So.
Yeah. And I kind of have a little bit of a similar story. I mean, as a kid, I would always do these crazy things. I mean, I would jump off a cliff or something into a lake or something. And sometimes, I would just ride sports just for fun. And I'm doing these things, these little things, little ramps and everything like that. I mean, I probably really shouldn't be doing, because I'm not really used to them. Yeah, but I'm actually pretty lucky, because I'm 22 years old now, and I still haven't broken a bone yet.
Well, thank God for that.
You better knock on some wood.
Yes, Justin. Yes, only 22. You're a baby. Stop it. Knock on wood is right, kiddo. So, guys, we're coming to the close of the interview, but I'm going to give both of you an opportunity to say whatever else it is you want to say. Tell everyone how they can find you, especially you, Leigh, because first of all, I want to thank both of you. Justin, I love you being a guest co-host. You're awesome. Thank you so much for this connection with Leigh. I think he's incredible, incredibly inspiring as well to others. So Leigh, thank you so much for giving us your time today. First of all, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
When Justin told me about you, I laughed, and I'm looking at your pictures and I'm saying, I don't know what to say to him. He's crazy, but this is so cool, But thank you.
Thank you, guys. It's always good to talk to people and just share stories. And it's all I can say is find something you love and try to do it as much as you can. It doesn't have to be a job, but just do what you love.
Tell everyone how they can find you.
You can. Instagram is probably the easiest, and it's just my name, LEIGH RAMSDELL. So just at Leigh RAMSDELL, which is pretty much Facebook, Instagram, all that.
That's
and
cool.
Yeah, follow me and watch as I still get to travel the world with our team, which is good. I get to. It feels like I can do a little bit of the pro lifestyle without getting hurt.
That's
nice.
So cool. So cool.
And I do have one more question. What do you want to say to anybody out there listening right now? And like for those of you that actually like want to do something that they love, like even if it is BMX, what's the best advice you can give to anyone out there who's listening?
I think take it seriously, but not too seriously, and be a good person. Because I've seen a lot of guys that are incredible on the bikes, but they're a little difficult to work with sometimes. I just say you could, just because you're good, also try to be a good person. That's what I think.
Love it. Thank you, sweetheart. I love that. Yes. Justin, tell everyone how they can reach out to you.
Okay, well, I'm pretty much only active on Facebook because, like I say, at every single show, there are so many new versions of social media, and I cannot keep track with all of that. I know, but yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Justin Drummond. That's Drummond, DRUMMOND. And yeah, if you want to give me a shout out, just say hello. I'm pretty much open to do that.
Okay, beautiful. So everyone,
thank you guys. Thank you, Justin. That was an awesome interview. I appreciate everything.
Beautiful. So I want to thank all my listeners out there, my audience, and I just want to say thank you. And we're going to be posting this. I'll share this everywhere. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, but I'm on 5 networks all over the world. So check out the Geri Petito Show, okay? And you can find me on Facebook as well. And, you can send me a private message if anyone's interested in being a guest in the summertime. Let me know. All right. And great interview. And thank you, guys. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.